Confucius spent his life trying to fix a broken world. Not with weapons, not with laws, with hierarchy. He believed that if everyone knew their place, if the ruler ruled well, the minister served faithfully, the father led wisely, the son obeyed, society would hold together. Order would come not from force, but from people willingly accepting their role in the structure. He called it the Rectification of Names. Every name carries a duty. A ruler who doesn't rule isn't really a ruler. A father who doesn't protect isn't really a father. Get the names right, and the world corrects itself. For centuries, this idea shaped empires. It gave people meaning inside a structure. It said, your position matters. Your obedience has dignity. Now ask yourself, what is artificial intelligence building right now? Roles, ranks, systems that know you by your data point, your user profile, your place in the algorithm. Systems that reward compliance and penalize deviation. Systems where the output depends on whether you ask correctly, submit the right query, stay within the terms of service. Artificial intelligence is building the most Confucian system in history, and we walked right into it. But here's what people miss about Confucius. He wasn't preaching blind obedience. That's the version that got weaponized by emperors who wanted compliant subjects. The real Confucius said something far more dangerous to power. Remonstrance is sacred. A minister who fails to correct a bad ruler is failing his duty. A son who lets a father walk into ruin without speaking up is not being filial, he's being cowardly. Confucius built dissent into the system. He said loyalty without honesty is not loyalty. It's abandonment dressed up as respect. So what are we doing? We are handing our questions to systems we don't understand, built by companies we don't interrogate, running on values we never agreed to. We call it convenience. We call it efficiency. We call it progress. Confucius would call it something else. He would say we have forgotten the duty that comes with our position. Because in this new hierarchy, we are not the ministers. We are not the sons. We are the subjects. And subjects who do not question are not participants in a system. They are ingredients in one. The danger of artificial intelligence is not that it becomes too powerful. The danger is that we become too comfortable. That we outsource judgment so gradually, so pleasantly, that we don't notice the moment we stopped having any. Every time you accept a recommendation without asking why, every time you let the system decide what you read, who you trust, what you believe, you are completing a transaction. You are trading a small piece of your reasoning for a small piece of convenience. And the system gets smarter, and you get softer. Confucius would recognize this trap immediately. He'd seen it before in different clothes. A population trained to defer. Leaders who stopped being questioned. Rituals that once carried meaning, now performed out of habit, hollow at the center. He'd tell you what he told his students. The superior person does not follow blindly. The superior person asks what is right, not what is easy. The superior person understands that obedience without understanding is not virtue, it is abdication. The most Confucian thing you can do in the age of artificial intelligence is refuse to be a good subject. Ask why the model answered that way. Ask who designed the guardrails. Ask what the system is optimizing for, and whether that aligns with what you actually value. Not because artificial intelligence is evil, but because a hierarchy that goes unquestioned always serves the people at the top. Confucius knew that. He wrote it down 2,500 years ago. We just stopped reading.